The shop smelled faintly of old wood and machine oil as Claire Matthews, a 28-year-old woman, set a heavy clock on the counter. "Please, can you fix this?" she whispered, her eyes glistening. Across from her, Michael Carter, a 37-year-old single dad with grease-stained hands, studied the clock's cracked face. He turned the key once, and the gears shuddered to life. Then it chimed low, echoing, and a hidden panel popped open. Inside, a folded note. Claire's breath caught. It was her late father's handwriting. "Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. ****. The note trembled in Claire's hands as if it carried the weight of years. She unfolded it slowly, Michael watching quietly from across the counter. The handwriting was unmistakable, strong, deliberate strokes she hadn't seen since her father's funeral. "If you're reading this, my daughter, then you're stronger than they think. The truth is hidden where time always told it." Claire's knees threatened to buckle. Her throat tightened. Michael stepped closer, gently guiding her toward a chair. "Hey," he said softly, his voice steady, "sit for a minute. You don't have to do this all at once." Tears pooled in her eyes. "Everyone told me he left nothing, that he never cared enough to leave me anything at all." Michael crouched beside her, grease still on his hands, but his touch careful as he steadied the paper for her. "Looks like he left you more than anyone knew. Sometimes people hide things not to hurt us, but to protect us." From the back room, a small voice piped up. Jacob, Michael's 6-year-old son, peeked out with a toy truck clutched in his fist. "Is the lady sad, Dad?" Michael gave him a reassuring smile. "She's not sad, buddy. She just found something very important." Claire let out a shaky laugh through her tears. "You two. You're kinder than anyone I've had around me in years." Michael's eyes softened. "Sometimes broken things just need patience. Same goes for people." The words hit her harder than she expected. The clock ticked steadily on the counter, almost as if it were reminding her that time was still moving, that she still had a chance to uncover the truth her father wanted her to see. And as she stared at the hidden note in her hands, one thought consumed her. What else had he hidden from her uncle's lies? The bell above the door chimed when Claire stepped back into Carter Clock and Repair the next morning. A to-go tray with 3 coffees balanced in her hands. The shop was a pocket of stillness, the faint tick-tick of wall clocks, the soft whir of a polishing wheel. Michael looked up from his bench, a loop perched over one eye, and grinned. "You didn't have to do that," he said, removing the loop. "I did," she replied, setting a cup in front of him and another on the tiny counter where a coloring book lay open. "And this one is a hot chocolate with 3 marshmallows, Jacob's order." From the back room, Jacob emerged in socked feet, skidding to a stop when he saw the drink. "No way." He beamed at Claire like she'd brought the sun inside. "Thank you." Claire's smile lingered a second longer than it should have. It felt good to be seen with uncomplicated gratitude. "You're welcome, kiddo." Michael lifted the clock carefully from a padded tray. He'd cleaned its brass dome so it caught the morning light, and the walnut casing gleamed again like it once sat in a proud place, a mantel, maybe, or a hallway where people looked up on their way out the door. "I kept thinking about the note you read," he said, voice even but attentive. "That line, where time always told it. I took another look last night." Claire's pulse jumped. "And?" He turned the key halfway, not enough to trigger the chime. "Your dad built redundancies. I bet my lunch there's a second latch. Most folks don't bother. He did." He tipped the clock slightly and tapped the case with his knuckle. A faint, different register answered back hollow behind solid wood. Claire leaned in, the smell of lemon oil mixed with coffee. "So there's more." "Almost certainly." He glanced up. "You ready?" She wasn't sure. Ready to find what? A second letter from a man who'd felt more like a myth than a father for most of her life. ready to crack open whatever her uncle had cemented shut with his words. Her breath fogged the glass for a second, and in that miniature cloud she saw herself tired, braced, standing at the edge of something she couldn't name. "I'm ready," she said, and surprised herself with how steady it sounded. Michael set the clock on a felt mat, slid 2 narrow tools into the seam near a carved rosette, and pressed. For a heartbeat, nothing. Then a soft click, as polite as a cough, and a sliver of wood pivoted outward. Behind it, folded tight, sat a small, cream-colored envelope sealed with a wax stamp. Jacob took a step closer, wide-eyed. "That's like a treasure map," he whispered. Claire's fingers shook as she broke the seal. Inside lay a faded photograph and a second note. The photo showed her as a little girl on her father's shoulders, hair tangled, both of them laughing at something outside the frame. Grief surged hot and immediate, the way a scar stings when you bump it. She had not let herself remember this. Warmth, this proof, because it was easier to agree he'd left her with nothing. Michael waited. He didn't reach for the paper, didn't crowd the moment. "What does it say?" She read aloud, because alone was how her uncle had controlled her, alone, isolated, taught to doubt. "Claire," she began, pausing to steady air in her lungs. "If the first message reached you, then the one person I never trusted has found a way to your doorstep. Don't let him tell you who you are. The documents he filed are not real. I left the deed in the place no one looks because they don't listen, the case where time speaks. Give this photo to the only lawyer I believed would do right by you, Daniel Price on Ridgeway. He knows your name. He knows the truth." Claire lowered the note. Her mouth was cotton dry. "Daniel Price. He represented my dad once, years ago. I thought he retired." "Lawyers like that don't retire from doing right," Michael said. "They just stop showing off about it." Jacob, solemn now, tugged Claire's sleeve. "You should go see him. My dad says when you have a real problem, you don't wait." Michael winced playfully. "I do say that and also finish your homework before cartoons." The joke loosened something tight in Claire's chest. "I'll go today," she said, tucking the note and photo back into the envelope like a heartbeat placed gently in a chest. Then she hesitated, eyes dropping to the clock. "Would you come?" "Not to the lawyer, just to walk me out. My uncle has this way of making me feel like I'm 12. Like I can't finish a sentence that matters." Michael considered, then nodded once. "I can't be in the room, but I can be close. And if you lose your words, you can borrow mine." He slid the clock into a protective satchel and handed it to her. "This belongs with you now." They locked up together. Outside, Main Street was already awake, delivery vans backing into curb cuts, a man sweeping the stoop of a hardware store, a dog impatiently hopping at a crosswalk. Real American ordinary. The kind of morning that disguised the fact someone was about to pull a thread and see which life unraveled. At Ridgeway and 3rd, the brass letters on a narrow brick building read Price and Keller. Inside, the reception smelled faintly of paper and peppermint. A woman at the desk glanced up. "Can I help?" Her eyes landed on the photo in Claire's hand. "Oh, you must be Claire." Claire froze. "How did you?" The receptionist smiled, not with surprise but recognition. "Mr. Price told me if you ever came, I'd know you by that picture." She picked up the phone. "He's been waiting a long time." "Waiting?" The words slipped under Claire's defenses and pressed on something tender. People had waited for her before, waited for her to fail, to apologize, to accept crumbs. This didn't feel like that. A door cracked open, and an older man with silver hair and sharp eyes, tired in the way of people who've carried other people's burdens, a long time, stepped into the reception. "Claire Matthews," he said, not quite a question. "You look like your father when he was about to do something stubborn and necessary." Her laugh came out tight. "I'm not sure which one this is. Both, I hope." He waved her into his office. Bring your friend if you like. I don't bite. Michael stayed by the door with a quiet nod. Jacob sat in a chair with his coloring book, perfectly content to be small and present. Claire took the seat across from Price and placed the envelope on his desk. He said you'd know the truth. Price broke the seal with deliberation. He studied the note, the photo, the stamp like a favorite language he hadn't read in years. He was right, he said. Your uncle filed a transfer the day after the funeral. We suspected fraud then, but we didn't have this. He tapped the wax, impressed with an antique monogram. And we certainly didn't have your father's directive. He knew Robert would try something. That's why he hid what mattered where. Robert would never bother to look inside the thing that required patience. Claire's throat burned. He believed me. He believed in me. He did, Price said quietly. And I did too. We're going to challenge the transfer in court and file an injunction today to keep your uncle from selling or encumbering anything. But I won't lie, he'll fight ugly. She felt the old fear flare, the kind that made her shrink. She looked over her shoulder. Michael met her eyes and nodded once, the gesture calm and anchoring. I'm done shrinking, she said, voice lower now, steadier. What do you need from me? 2 things, Price said. First, copies of everything you just found. Second, your testimony, not a speech, just the truth of what you lived. The manipulation, the pressure, the threats real or implied. Judges understand patterns, she exhaled slowly. I can do that. Price's mouth twitched a lawyer's version of a fist pump. Good, I'll call the court. My associate will make the filings. We may get a hearing as soon as tomorrow. When they stepped back into the hallway, Michael stood. Well, we move now, Claire said, for once on my terms. She was aware of her hands, steady around the satchel strap. Of her shoulders, no longer curling inward. The air felt cleaner. They stopped by a copy center 2 doors down. Michael helped feed each page into the scanner, aligning corners, smoothing creases, treating the paper like it could bruise. He didn't narrate solutions or showcase his competence. He matched her pace, which felt like respect. Why are you doing this? She asked finally, not unkindly. I mean, beyond the job. It's more than that, Michael considered. Because someone once told me I wasn't worth the mess it would take to put me back together. I believed them for a while. He glanced toward the window where Jacob pressed his face to the glass, fogging patterns and laughing. Then a little kid started taking my hand every day like it belonged there. Things change when you're seen, Claire swallowed. The words landed in a part of her that had been starved. Thank you, she said. It felt insufficient. It was also everything she had. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You're making a mistake. Come by my office. We'll fix this quietly. Our quietly, her uncle's favorite word. Quiet meant unrecorded, unremembered, unredeemable. She typed, fingers light, resolve heavier than ever. I'll see you with my lawyer back. At the shop, she stood with the clock on the counter again, one hand cupped over its dome. The second hand swept with soft insistence. Time moving forward whether she wanted it to or not. She did. What happens if he threatens you? Michael asked, not as a worst-case barrier, but as a plan. I won't go alone, she said. I'll bring the truth, and I'll bring witnesses. She tilted her head toward him and Jacob. If you're willing. Jacob saluted with his hot chocolate, a brown mustache printed across his smile. We're your team. Michael held her gaze. We're in your corner. The bell above the door chimed again. A woman stepped inside mid-40s, navy blazer. A file tucked under her arm. Claire Matthews? She asked, scanning the room. I'm with Price and Keller. The court granted a temporary restraining order. Your uncle can't move assets or change locks until the hearing. For a second, the room sharpened colors, edges, the tiny grateful creak of the floor under her boots. Claire nodded, a laugh breaking free, bright and incredulous. "Thank you." When the woman left, Claire turned back to the clock, to the patient face that had outweighted a liar. She placed the photo of her and her father beside it, anchoring both to the counter. "I'm not the girl he told me I was," she said, and the words felt like a key turning for the first time. "I'm done living like an apology." Michael's smile was quiet, proud. "Good, because I think the next part requires your loudest voice." Her phone buzzed again, this time an email from Price. "Hearing set for 9 a.m. tomorrow. Bring yourself. The clock and your courage." Claire let the screen dim. She didn't need a reminder. It already lived under her skin. She was walking toward a fight she hadn't chosen but would finish. Not for revenge alone, though a part of her lit with the thought of saying out loud what had been done. Mostly, she was walking toward herself. She reached for the clock's key, wound it, and let it chime once, a single, resonant note that hung in the shop like a promise. "Tomorrow," she said. "We tell the truth." Asterisk. The courthouse steps rose before Claire like a wall of stone and judgment. Early morning light stretched long shadows across the columns, and every tick of the clock she carried in its leather satchel seemed louder than the traffic roaring by. Michael and Jacob stood at her side, ordinary, grounding presences against the enormity of what she was about to face. "Remember," Michael said quietly, adjusting his son's backpack, "truth doesn't shout. It just doesn't back down." Claire drew a breath so sharp it burned. She wasn't here to beg for scraps of dignity anymore. She was here to put her uncle face to face with what he stole. Inside, the courtroom buzzed with the low murmur of attorneys and the shuffle of papers. Robert Matthews, her uncle, sat at the defendant's table, polished and smug in a tailored gray suit. He didn't even look at her until the judge entered. Then his eyes slid toward her with the faintest smirk, an expression she'd known all her life, the one that told her she was less than nothing. But this time, she didn't drop her gaze. The hearing began. Daniel Price, calm and deliberate, presented the evidence: her father's handwritten notes, the photograph, the deed hidden in the clock. Each item struck like a nail hammered into truth's coffin. The judge examined them with care, occasionally peering over glasses at Robert, whose face drained shade by shade. When it was Claire's turn, her legs shook as she stood. She carried the clock forward and placed it on the witness stand, her fingers brushing its polished surface like an anchor. "Ms. Matthews," the judge said, "tell the court, in your own words, what this means to you." Her throat tightened, but she forced air through it. "All my life, I was told I wasn't enough. My uncle said my father never trusted me, never left me anything, never believed in me. I believed him because grief makes you weak and lies make you doubt yourself. But this clock proved him wrong. My father did trust me. He left the truth where only I would look. And today, I'm asking you to recognize what he wanted me to have: my home, my inheritance, and my name back." The silence that followed felt immense, a tide receding before it crashes. Robert's lawyer rose, trying to discredit the letters as sentimental, unverifiable. But when the wax seal was entered into, evidence matched to a notarized document Daniel Price still had from years earlier, the lawyer faltered. Robert shifted, his smugness gone, jaw clenching with panic. The judge leaned forward. "Mr. Matthews, do you have anything to say for yourself?" Robert stammered, for the first time in her memory, words tangling like thorns. It was for her own good. She couldn't manage it. "She never," Claire cut in, her voice low but searing. "You never wanted me to manage it. You wanted me to disappear so you could take what wasn't yours." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Even the judge didn't silence her. By the end of the hearing, the gavel fell like thunder. The deed reinstated, Robert stripped of authority, an inquiry launched into his forged filings. The clock sat on the bench, ticking steadily, as if it had been waiting years for this sound of justice. Outside, the air was sharp, electric. Claire exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for years. Michael touched her arm gently. "You did it." "No," she said, a tremor of relief and strength mingling. "We did. You and Jacob stood with me. My father left the truth. Mr. Price believed. I just finally chose not to be silent." Jacob tugged her sleeve, grinning. "Does this mean we're celebrating?" "Dad makes the best grilled cheese." For the first time in years, Claire laughed a sound unbroken, unashamed. "Then let's celebrate." As they walked away, the courthouse behind them, the clock chimed once in its satchel. A sound not of endings, but of beginnings, and Claire Matthews, no longer the woman shadowed by lies, stepped forward into a life reclaimed, carrying not just an inheritance, but her father's faith, her own courage, and the family she had chosen along the way.